It's time for another edition of Jamaica Magazine. Welcome, I'm Theodore Henry. On today's pages, we take a look at how funds have been allocated to the Ministry of Health in the Estimates of Expenditure for 2017-2018 and find out how the Ministry of Justice is empowering people to make a change in their communities. These and more after the news.
Some marine, you know. Yeah?
Yeah, man, I have the pocket 6,000.
6,000.
Yeah.
How much I want?
Yeah, man, 2 bills I want.
Yeah, man, no one else.
$5,000.
Yeah, man. Same. Alright,
What one, cat?
you don't know, I sit downtown the other day there.
Oh.
I want to brethren in them man, we buy and sell marina. One of them I sell a 6-pack for $1,000 and the next one I sell one for $200.
So where why?
Buy 5 of them for $1,000. Think them can't rob me.
So Uncle Fancy is the same $1,000 you would spend to get the 6? Seriously?
Tell them again now my math brains.
Math count.
Math counts.
Sponsored by the Ministry of Education.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, February 28. The police will not relent in their operations to enforce regulations concerning tints on public passenger vehicles. The assertion comes from the head of the JCF Corporate Communication Unit, Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay.
We are the police and we have a responsibility. The government has a responsibility and they have mandated us to carry out this function and we don't intend to relent. We expect full compliance for all the parties that are involved in public transportation.
Superintendent Lindsay was addressing a JIS think tank on Monday. She says that while there are still groups with concerns, there has been generally good compliance from taxi operators since the new regulations took effect about 2 weeks ago. It broadly calls for motor vehicle tints to allow at least 70% visibility looking in, with specific stipulations for the different taxi and bus windows. A gender mainstreaming manual has been developed which will serve as a quick guide to support the implementation of various policies and programs to promote gender equality. The manual was developed by the Gender Affairs Division of the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. It was made possible through funding from the United Nations Fund for Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment. Director of Policy and Research at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Sharon Coburn-Robinson, says the manual will assist with the mainstreaming of gender at the national level.
To identify and promote women's and gender equality issues through collaboration and partnership between the government and multiple stakeholders, to stimulate the increased participation of women as both active agents and beneficiaries of the development process.
Mrs. Coburn-Robinson was addressing a recent JIS think tank. She says the manual will be distributed to gender focal points across the public sector. Government will be providing well-needed assistance to stakeholders in Trenchtown to help market the area as the premier community tourism destination in Kingston. In making the announcement, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says there are plans to increase the number of cruise passengers to the area. He says this is to be discussed with the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association (FCCA) at the Global Sea Trade Conference in March.
When I went to the FCCA to speak to them about cruise development in Jamaica, and particularly Kingston, the first question they said, well, what does Kingston have? And so I told them, fine, I'll come back to you with my story. And in the interim, you prepare for my port. So I'm going back to see them at Sea Trade 3 weeks from now. And Trenchtown will be a piece of what I will take care of.
On Thursday, Minister Bartlett toured several locations in Trenchtown, including the Culture Yard Museum and the Old Ambassador Theatre. The Caribbean Maritime Institute, CMI, is much closer to gaining university status following the passage of legislation in both houses of Parliament. The House of Representatives passed the Caribbean Maritime University Act on January 24, and the Senate gave its approval last Friday with 26 amendments. The legislation repeals the Caribbean Maritime Institute Act, under which the institution now operates. Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid says the move is integral to expanding the university spaces being offered to students locally.
The Caribbean Maritime University Bill represents, Mr. President, an opportunity for Jamaica, as this will allow the Caribbean Maritime Institute to present itself as a niche market university, to attract greater numbers of local and foreign students and also access international grant funding, which is more available for universities, especially funding from the European Union and other global funding agencies.
Program offerings at the CMI are structured around the maritime and allied industries, and the Institute reports that about 85% of its graduates are placed in jobs within 6 months after graduation. And finally, the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, is pursuing the development of a strategic plan to tackle problems caused by plastic packaging materials in the waste stream. Chief Executive Officer at NEPA, Lieutenant Colonel Oral Khan, says the time is right as this is a central feature of the country's development path. NEPA's CEO was speaking at a Trash-Free Waters workshop recently. Lieutenant Colonel Khan says the production of plastics has increased in developed and developing countries, while the technological solutions required to ensure sound management is lacking. He says NEPA is undertaking measures to address the issue. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching.
We want a productive Jamaica. We are not productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, pathway to prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
The past week was an eventful one at Jamaica House. Let's now take a look at the highlights.
Government facilitates IMF visit to review its economic performance. Jamaicans urged to take responsibility for their future by investing in a pension, and ground broken for $7 billion housing development in St. James. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Lorraine Mendez. At the start of last week, Prime Minister Andrew Holness welcomed a team from the International Monetary Fund to Jamaica House. The delegation, headed by Nancy Horsman, new executive director for the region, was on the island conducting a review of Jamaica's performance under the precautionary standby agreement with the fund.
And planning for your future through a formal pension scheme is absolutely a duty you have in being personally responsible.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness appealing to Jamaicans to safeguard their future quality of life. He was speaking last Tuesday at Sagicor's Pension Investment Seminar. The Prime Minister also had reassuring words for public sector workers concerned about impending pension reforms, which will see them contributing 5% of salaries to their pensions.
The posture of the government will be to work towards resolution and not antagonism. There must be a cooperative posture to reach solutions for sustainability, robustness, equity, adequacy, and to ensure that there is alignment between the strategic needs of investments now and income generation in the future.
And while at the Sagicor Pension Investment Seminar, Mr. Holness called on fund managers to consider diversifying their investments to include long-term government projects. The Prime Minister said that though pension funds already invest in government bonds, they stood to gain greater returns by investing in state infrastructure, divestment, and real estate initiatives.
In the very near future, there will be policy changes to ensure, facilitate, and promote a better allocative efficiency and in terms of investment and in terms of how the pension funds structure their assets to align more with the investment infrastructure thrust of the Jamaican government. We're going to be building 1,500 units for the working people of St. James.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness announcing the $7 billion estuary housing development to be constructed at Friendship in the parish. The 254-acre development for low-income earners is a joint venture between the National Housing Trust and West Indies Home Contractors Limited, Wiccan. The houses are to be delivered by December 2019. Mr. Holness used Friday's groundbreaking to remind potential homeowners of their responsibility towards maintaining the value of their investments.
So when you come and buy this house, be prepared to maintain the highest standard to ensure that the property values here can rise, because that is part of the prosperity agenda. You want to have a house that you can take to the bank and secure a loan that you can go do other things. Your house is your major and probably your biggest investment that you will make in your life. And nobody else should diminish the value of that. Jamaica must become an orderly society.
Back at Jamaica House Wednesday, Prime Minister Holness met with Guy Ryder, Director General of the International Labour Organization, ILO. The ILO head was on the island for a meeting of labour ministers and government representatives from 17 Caribbean countries. Mr. Holness also held talks with a delegation from Fujitsu. On Thursday, he continued a series of meetings with various government agencies to reinforce his administration's plans. He also held talks with the Urban Development Corporation. Mr. Holness also convened a meeting of the National Partnership Council, where subcommittees were formed to deal with issues surrounding the rule of law, violence, and the environment. On Friday morning, Prime Minister Holness journeyed to the National Heroes Park for a floral tribute to commemorate the 133rd anniversary of the birth of Sir Alexander Bustamante. He later headed to the Jamaica Observer for an editors' forum where he discussed his administration's achievements since taking office in March last year. And that's how we close out Jamaica House Weekly. We return next time with more of the news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
I say be careful what you teach your little children. Make sure I know something to hurt them. Mind what you saying to my sister. She could be the next Prime Minister.
Children in Jamaica constitute anyone who is under the age of 18 years. And so once you have a child who is under your care and supervision, we encourage you at the Office of the Children's Advocate to always know where your children are. It doesn't mean that you have to be there with them, but you certainly know who they're with, where they're going, and the purpose for being there. This is a key component in helping to establish some rules in terms of some ground rules and helping to guide your children towards responsible and sensible choices, and also assisting you if something were to go wrong to know what is the first point of contact to assist your child. While you're not to look at everybody as a potential suspect, that you need to be very wary of adults, whether they're in positions of authority or not, that seek to want to have a very close relationship with your child. Somebody who wants to invite your child on an outing and it's just that adult and your child alone. Somebody who wants to take your child to a very special event to reward the child, perhaps for some performance that the child would have done in an extracurricular activity or for academic excellence. We encourage you to look at these situations very carefully and to determine whether or not it's an appropriate meeting or outing that this person is propositioning for your child. If you're enrolling your child in a daycare, ensure that you know something about the track record of that daycare. Ensure that the daycare has what we call an open door policy, which allows you to go in, see what's happening, observe how the workers there interact with the children, and know some of the ground rules that guide these interactions. If they're going on outings, whether it be school trips or otherwise, ensure that at some point, even if you can't go to all, you do attend some of them, so you get yourself integrated into the system and the culture of the school. For these tips and of course any other information that deals with children, that is anyone under 18 years, please feel free to contact the Office of the Children's Advocate. We're at 72 Harbour Street, downtown Kingston, and our numbers are 948-1134, or website www.oca.gov.jm.
Watch what you teach your little children. Make sure I know something to hurt them. Mind what you saying to me sister, cause she could be the next Prime Minister.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
We now review how funds budgeted for the Ministry of Health will be used in the Estimates of Expenditure for 2017-2018.
The government has budgeted to invest $63.79 billion in the health of the population for the 2017-2018 fiscal year. The bulk of the Health Ministry's budget is earmarked to take care of recurring expenses. That includes things like paying employees and ensuring that government's network of 23 hospitals and over 336 health centers and specialized institutions have what they need to deliver adequate health care to the population. With money from central government's coffers and the National Health Fund, the Health Ministry will have over $1 billion at its disposal to implement some key development projects in the fiscal year. $1.05 billion will be used to fund the Health Services Improvement Project. Targets include the procurement of a hospital management information system and vector control support. Designs will also be prepared for the construction of 4 polyclinics, while a number of healthcare facilities are to be rehabilitated. A linear accelerator cancer treatment machine will be purchased. Another $24 million is allocated to upgrade the Bellevue Hospital's water supply system. And the National Council on Drug Abuse is allotted $5 million to establish community infrastructure to prevent and control drug abuse. The Health Ministry's work is also supported by $1.86 billion in Capital B projects financed by multilateral and bilateral agencies and the Government of Jamaica. $492.26 million is earmarked for a project to promote safer sex practices among groups at high risk for HIV transmission. This year's targets involve clinical assessment of high-risk groups and providing antiretroviral treatment for HIV-positive adults and children. Another initiative to provide extra support is the National HIV and AIDS Response Project. It will receive $744.2 million to reduce AIDS-related morbidity and mortality through biomedical and supporting interventions. The European Union will also continue its funding of the Health Ministry's program for the reduction of maternal and child mortality. This year, PROMAC is getting $589.87 million to continue work on neonatal high-dependency units, including the provision of equipment. The money will also support continued training for doctors and nurses for the neonatal units, among other things. In the fiscal year, final evaluations will also be completed and final audited statements prepared under the Institutional Strengthening to Improve National Surveillance, Prevention and Control of Infectious Disease Project. Those are some of the ways government will be attending to the health needs of the nation in the new fiscal year, safeguarding the well-being of the people and the wealth of the country.
Let's celebrate Jamaica to the world. Fastest man in the world. First Jamaican woman to win gold in Olympic 100-meter sprint. An upcoming global superstar. Mouth-watering meals. And a vibrant set of people. We are Jamaicans. Let's get together and bring back the love.
What part can you play in ensuring your community is a safer, more peaceful place to live? Well, the Ministry of Justice has a program in place which gives community members the tools they need to do just that. Let's find out more about community justice.
This is community justice. Residents who are standing up for peace and just actions, reclaiming Jamaica land we love.
The decent, law-abiding citizens of our country must now be more proactive and seek ways and means to overcome those who want to destroy Jamaica. Goodness must triumph over evil.
It's not a one-citizen thing, and it's not just a town thing. The Ministry of Justice is rallying the masses from country to town.
Creating a national movement of decent and upright people to take back Jamaica and to return discipline and respect for the rule of law in this country.
Using a series of public sensitization sessions, the ministry is seeking to bring together peace monitors or justice leaders. Pastors, doctors, custodians, lawyers, teachers, and other positive community members are being trained in justice programs such as child abuse, domestic violence, human trafficking, mediation, restorative justice, and legal aid. Professionals within the justice system are on hand at the sessions, equipped to answer questions.
Victims who have been sexually abused, and I speak to the evidence. A young miss, she is impregnated by an adult, and the man leaves the area. This is in relation to soca. The man leaves the area when it's hot, and a year after, he's back in the area. What's the follow-up?
As it relates to teenage pregnancy or persons who got pregnant below the age of 16, we don't just investigate and leave things hanging. We follow up. So if the person left the community, we're still after him. We try to find out where he is. If he comes back to the community, we go, we get him, we put him before the court.
Armed now with the knowledge of truth and justice, the community members will now help other citizens access justice services, resolve conflicts, and be productive members of society.
We're sending a signal to the Jamaican people, and in particular, all law-abiding and decent citizens of this country, to join us in the work that we are doing to safeguard the future of our country as we move towards a just, safe, and secure Jamaica.
I think the sensitization sessions, it's a great initiative of the Ministry of Justice. I think it teaches us now as citizens to have a greater responsibility, and it has opened our awareness. There are several activities that you can access through several services through the Justice Ministry. So it's not only limited to human trafficking. We have learned today of victim services. We have learned about legal aid services in addition to restorative justice. And key as well is that we have to access those who do not have access. So we now have to go into those remote locations. So it's not only to those internet users or social media, in other words, but it is just a great responsibility. I love the initiative, and it just makes you feel good to be a part of this great effort.
The project is being carried out through the Justice Undertakings for Social Transformation program. Already more than 200 persons have been trained. By year end, over 2,000 persons will be on the program. Peace, civility, good order, and improved behavior in communities will be the fruits of this program.
This helps the problem from reaching to the court, where it takes a lot of time and a lot of pile-up that is being done today.
I think it's very good. It's commendable on the part of the ministry to have done this. Based organizations would be the best avenue to reach the population and to have people committing in their own space, in their own community, persons who are familiar with the situation and the culture and are willing to serve.
Justice, truth be ours forever. cannot be achieved without community members.
Yes, I should think so, because if we teach the children them and make it be known, if them take heed, yes, them can act on where them learn and it can reach to a zero level.
I think that it can be reduced to zero if we are conscious of ourselves and how we go about the daily thing that we do.
I think it requires a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment. It really requires a multi-sectoral approach. I think everybody has to take responsibility, not just a personal responsibility for their actions, and practice those behaviors that don't put them at risk.
Well, they can try by putting some measures in place or something to really get it done.
Well, I think getting to zero is possible because there's a lot of interventions going on now. So people are more aware of what they are dealing with, and know the risk that they are taking. So I think it is possible.
It's gonna be a tedious task to actually get to zero, because it's recently that in schools teenagers are aware of HIV, because they're not aware of how it is being caught.
It requires both public sector and private sector working together, because it's not a fight that we can fight alone. There are a lot of people that are working on the ground. There are a lot of people that are committed to the cause, but it's time for all the sectors to pull together, because the reality of the situation is that everybody is at risk, and unless we work together as a people, then we're not going to achieve it.
All Jamaicans, collectively and individually, can play a part in reducing the cancer burden. Collectively, we can improve early detection through screening and provide education on healthy lifestyle practices. Individually, you can quit smoking, start exercising regularly, reduce your alcohol consumption, and access your annual screening test. Increase your awareness, get informed, live healthy.
This brings us to the close of Jamaica Magazine for today. Keep informed on happenings in Jamaica by visiting our website at jis.gov.jm, and do stay connected with us on our various social media platforms. I am Theodore Henry. Join us on this station, same time tomorrow, for another Jamaica Magazine feature.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.